Welcome back. Today we will show you a practical exercise on building a CRUD web application using Angular Universal Server-Side Rendering (SSR). Server-side rendering means the client-side Angular app render on the server instead of the browser to get less load to the client side. The server side using Express-engine and MongoDB for the data store. This tutorial divided into several steps. Step number 1. Create an Angular Universal application. Step number 2. Add Mongoose.js schema and router. Step number 3. Add Angular routes and navigation. Step number 4. Add Angular service. Step number 5. Add Angular material, UI or UX for CRUD operation. Step number 6. Deploy, run, and test the Angular Universal SSR on VPS. The Angular Universal applications that we will build is a very simple application of create, read, update, delete, CRUD operation. At the end, we will show you how to deploy it to the VPS. The following tools, frameworks, libraries, and modules are required for this tutorial. Node.js, Angular Universal with Express-engine, MongoDB and Mongoose.js, Angular material. VPS contains Ubuntu, Nginx, PM2, and MongoDB. Terminal or CMD, IDE or text editor. We are using VS Code. Let's get started with the main steps. Step number 1. Create an Angular Universal application. As usual, we will start this tutorial by preparing the environments to create or build an Angular applications inside the Node.js ecosystem. First, make sure you have downloaded the latest and recommended Node.js versions and can run npm in the terminal or CMD. To check the existing Node and npm, type this command. The installer updates the latest Angular CLI by type this command. Next, create a new Angular application by type this command. If there are the questions, give them the answer like this. Next, go to the newly created Angular 10 applications folder, then type this command to add Angular Universal SSR. Next, check the Angular Universal SSR application by running this application using these commands. Open the browser, then go to localhost colon 4000 and you will see this standard Angular welcome page. Step number 2. Add Mongoose.js schema and router. Where we use Mongoose.js as ODM for MongoDB. The MongoDB collections will be represented by Mongoose models. Add the Mongoose.js and requires dependencies to this Angular Universal project by type these commands. Next, open this Angular Universal projects using your IDE or text editor. To use Visual Studio Code, just type this command. Next, open and edit server.ts in the root of projects folder. Then add this import of Mongoose. Next, add these lines of code inside the export functions body after the constant variables to connect to MongoDB. Add these lines after the server sets code to parse the JSON body on the request. Next, add a new folder for Mongoose models and add a Mongoose model inside that folder. Fill this file with this codes of Mongoose schema. Next, we will create a route that accesses the MongoDB Data via API. Create a new folder called routes and a file inside it. Open and edit that file. Then add these imports of Express request, response, next functions, and book schema. Add these lines of code to create a CRUD method of REST API. The root path starts with book that will be called for the Angular 10 application using full URL http localhost 4000/book. Next, open and edit server.ts, then add these imports. Declare a constants after other constants. Add these lines before the server get. Attention please, don't declare API routes after all regular routes, otherwise the API URL won't working. Step number 3. Add Angular routes and navigations. To create Angular 10 routes for navigation between Angular 10 pages or components, add or generate or recreate components. There is an additional skip imports variable because there will be a conflict between two modules, Angular 10 and server modules. Next, we will manually add or register those components to the SRC app Mongoose.js. Add these imports of the created Angular components to that file. In Visual Studio Code, imports will automatically added after the components added to ng modules declarations. Next, open and edit SRC app routing module.ts, then modify the routes constant variable to this. Next, open and edit SRC app component HTML, and you will see the existing router outlet after scrolling to the bottom of this file. Next, modify this HTML page to fit the CRUD pages that will be wrapped inside router outlet. Open and edit SRC app component as CSS, then replace all CSS codes with this. Step number 4. Add Angular service. To access REST API from Angular 10 Universal, we need to create an Angular 10 service that will handle all post, get, update, delete, or request. The response from the REST API emitted by observable that can subscribe and read from the components. For error handler and data extraction, we will use an Express.js library. Before creating a service for RESTful API access, first we have to install or register HTTP clients module by open and edit SRC app module.ts, then add this import. Add it to ng module imports after browser module. We will use the type specifier to get a typed results object. For that, create a new TypeScript file with rc_app_books.ts. Then add these lines of TypeScript code. Next, generate an Angular 10 service by type this command. Next, open and edit these files. Then add these imports of RxJS observable, throw error, catch error, Angular HTTP client, HTTP headers, HTTP error response, and Book objects model. Add discussions of full URL before the index table. Inject the HTTP clients module to the constructor. Add the error handler functions. Add the functions for all CRUD, create, read, update, delete operations call to the REST API. Step number 5. Add Angular material UI or UX for CRUD operation. Before implementing UR or UX for CRUD operations using Angular material, first install or CRUD Angular modules and schematics. If there are questions like this, just use default answer. We will register or require Angular 10 material components or modules to srcf app-module.ts. Open and edit the file. Then edit required imports of Angular material components, forms, and reactive form module. Register those modules to ng module imports. Next, open and edit srcf book. srcf books component.ts, then edit imports. Inject the API service to the constructor. Declare the variables of Angular 10 material table data source before the constructor. Modify the engine init functions to get the list of articles immediately. Next, open and edit src books component HTML, then replace all HTML tags with this Angular material components that displays the Angular table. Finally, to make the little UI adjustment, open and edit src books component as CSS, then add this as CSS codes. Next, to show book details, after click or tap on one of the row inside the Angular 10 material table, open and edit src book details component CS, then edit imports. Inject the above modules to the constructor. Declare the variables before the constructor for hold book data that gets from the API. Add the functions for getting book data from the API. Call these functions when the component is initiated. Add these functions to delete a book. For the view, open and edit src book details component HTML. Then replace all HTML tags with this. Finally, open and edit src book details component as CSS, then add these lines of CSS codes. Next, to create a form for adding a book, open and edit src book add component CS, then add these imports. Create a new class before the main class adds components. Inject the above modules to the constructor. Declare variables from the form groups and all of the required fields: loading spinner, trigger, and initialize error state mature inside the form before the constructor. Add initial validation for each field. Create functions for submitting or post book form. Next, open and edit src book add component HTML. Then replace all HTML tags with this. Finally, open and edit src book add component CSS. Then add this line of CSS codes. Next, open and edit src book edit component TS. Then add these imports. Create a new class before the main class. Add components to catch the error in the form entry. Inject the above modules to the constructor. Declare the form groups variables and all of the required variables of a book form, loading spinner, trigger, and error state mature before the constructor. Next, add a validation for all fields where the component is initiated. Create the functions for getting book data that fields to the each form field. Create the functions to update the book changes. Add the functions for handling the Show Article Details button. Next, open and edit SRC book edit component HTML, then replace all HTML tags with this. Finally, open and edit SRC book edit component CSS, then add these lines of CSS codes. Step number 6. Deploy, run, and test the Angular Universal SSR on VPS. Before installing PM2 and Nginx on your VPS, make sure you have installed the latest recommended Node.js and npm on your VPS. After that, install PM2 using these commands. Next, build the Angular Universal Application as SSR. You found this error on the production build. This error comes from the model's Mongoose.js line first. Next, upload the Angular SSR dist Angular SSR server main.js to your VPS, then move it to the for www. Then run this Angular SSR application using PM2. To stop the PM2, type this command. Next, to make the PM2 start and run the app every time server starting, type this command. Ubuntu is your server username. To check the status of the startup system, type these commands. Next, install Nginx for your VPS operating systems, then edit the Nginx configuration or etc Nginx sites available default file. Replace the locations body with these lines. Restart your Nginx server. If there's an error caused by course because of using the application using port 80 instead of its origin port 4000, just install the course module. Open and edit server.ts and add these imports. Enable course by adding this line after another server use. Also change the API URL in SRC App API Service. Rebuild again this Angular 10 Universal application and deploy it to your VPS. Stop and start again PM2 and you will not see the course error. That is the Angular 10 Universal Server-Side Rendering SSR CRUD example. You can find the full article and source code in the description below. Thank you.